want to do is time block out, and I'll show you how to do this in your calendar then, is your vacations. The thing to remember with vacations is there's vacations that are full of rest, and then there's trips. Does anybody know what the difference is between, let's say, a trip and a vacation? Is what I would categorize it. Any guesses?
A trip is a rolling work week designed as a vacation, which really isn't a vacation.
That's part, I definitely think that's part of it.
My friends always say trips are police vacations are according to me.
That is definitely part of it. The other thing I would add, so yeah, typically trips, you have your kiddos. Another thing is maybe you have like an agenda, like you're going to Disney. That's a trip because the entire time you're there, you know what time your lunch is, your dinner is, you know that you're going to go to Epcot this day and Magical Kingdom the next day. Like it's not rest. You're constantly on the go. It's fun, but you're not resting the mind. You're not resting the body. So think of it this way. When you have vacations in your calendar, you should have a combination of trips and experiences. So you're enjoying life, but then you also need to have ones in here that are just restful and maybe with just your spouse and no kids, if you can find maybe grandma, grandpa to watch the kids for a few days. So that's my tip on here. I know when I visited my dad, it was definitely a trip. We showed up, he had an agenda for every day that we were there, what buildings we were going to go explore, what time we were having lunch at certain places, and it was fun. But when I came back, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm actually more exhausted than when I left. So now I'm going to be taking a no kids vacation in Key West in October, and I very much cannot wait to sit on a beach with a margarita and not do anything else. So anyway, trips versus vacations, but have those scheduled in your calendar. The next thing I would encourage you to do is to schedule date nights. Who here's like, what's a date night? Yeah, so if you have a significant other, maybe you're single, that's okay. It could be with yourself or with your girlfriends or your friends. But you don't want to wait until trips or vacations to spend time with your significant other. That's putting you on the fast track to divorce. And 10 out of 10, I've been there, don't recommend. So whether this is weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, you do what's best for you and your family. But this is something that's so easy to forget, or you get tired. Honey, let's just stay in tonight. I don't feel like doing anything. If that starts to happen repetitively, you're going to have problems. So the next thing you want to make sure you have time blocked out is date nights. Any questions so far? Kind of basic, right? The next thing that you want to time block if you're a parent is special time with your kiddos. So the one thing when I was in production, I struggled with was making sure that I had intentional time with my kids. So this isn't watching the movie, but with your laptop open. This is game night, phones away, laptops away. Sometimes I'd make sure, once a month, Ben and I alternate. So like I'll have a Kaylin date day in say August, and he'll take Kinsley the same day. And then the next month we'll alternate, and I'll take Kinsley on a special date and he'll take Kaylin. So when you have kiddos, it's just something to keep in mind that that's the relationship too that you want to make sure that you're being intentional with and not scheduling around all the work appointments. Because if you wait for that, then there is no time with kids' schedules, sports, school, work. It can be pretty difficult. So make sure this is scheduled first. Don't mind my handwriting. It's really bad. The next thing you want to schedule is, believe it or not, is some me time. And I'll maybe share my calendar now. So although we have donuts and coffee and we're getting pizza later, you do want to make sure that you're scheduling some time for yourself, and including in there should be some self-care. So you can see here, I got to move my workout time block. That got moved by accident. But I actually have it in my calendar every Monday, Wednesday, Friday when my workouts are scheduled. This is so I don't miss it. This is so I can prepare the night before. Because if I stay up too late, there's no way I'm getting to the gym at 5:30 the next day, right? So it's just a quick reminder in my calendar of, hey, this is my time. This is time for me to focus on myself, my health. I do miracle mornings. Basically have you ever heard of savers? So it's silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing or writing. So I try to achieve all those things minus the exercise and that half-hour time block, because then I have an hour for working out after that. But I can tell you, when I get away from these two things, the miracle mornings and the workouts, that's when burnout starts to set in for me. When I get up earlier, I have time alone. So Ben is in another room, sometimes still sleeping. The kids are still in bed. I have that time to just focus on me, my goals, how I'm feeling, what's on my mind, just on myself. That's when I feel more energized throughout the day, and I can pour into all of you at a higher level, versus if I don't do it, I start to feel less confident. I start to feel bad about myself, and that definitely ripples effects into everything else the rest of my day. So after all of that, you should actually have some blank space, believe it or not. So after you time block vacations, date nights, kiddo dates, me time, everything else that's left is work. With that being said, there's certain activities that we should be doing all the time whenever it comes time to our work schedules. So you can see on mine, I've got a couple of things that just repeat, and I'll show you how to do this then in a minute. But you want to have like activities chunked together. So MREA teaches us that we should be lead generating 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That might work for some of you. There's some people that have to have that daily consistency. For me, once I get on a roll and in a good vibe, I need to just keep going. So my prospecting is actually going to start looking more like 3 to 4 hours at a time, only 2 to 3 days a week. And that's why on Wednesdays, I actually have a morning session. I have a break for other appointments, but then I'm doing evening lead gen in the afternoon. Because by this evening time slot, because I've spent time in the morning doing it, I've got my scripts down, my conversations down, I'm in a good vibe, like I know what the objections are, and I'm kind of getting a good feel for how to handle those objections. So I would encourage you to do what works for you. If you're better with just 2 hours a day, because if you do it longer than that, you're gonna go crazy, stick to the 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. But if you're like, man, once I get in a flow, I just want to keep going. Like I get jazzed when I set an appointment, so I'm going to keep going for the next one. Try 2 or 3 days, but extend the time that you're doing it. So I would put in your lead gen time blocks first. And just remember, this is your calendar. So if the longer time blocks don't work for you, you can go back and edit it. I'm fixing my calendar almost once a month when I'm realizing like, hey, this meeting time slot that I had every Monday, it's not working. It's okay to check in with yourself, and we'll get into that in a minute. Once you put in your lead gen time, you'll notice here that I have 9 appointment slots in my calendar. And I number them: appointment slot 1, 2, I'm missing 3. I think that's normally here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I leave them titled appointment number or whatever until I fill that slot. So when I'm on the phone with Jane Doe and I said, hey, Jane Doe, I've got, availability Wednesday and Thursday afternoon. What one works better for you? She says Thursday at, after 12. I'll say, hey, what about 12:30? She says that works for me. I change that from appointment to meeting. So now I know that it's an actual meeting in my calendar and I invite her to that meeting. Now I know my goal is to have 9 appointments a week. And now I know I have only 8 other time slots left. So it holds me accountable to how many appointments I need to have per week, but it also has clear defined time slots that I'm trying really hard to not book other stuff on top of. I'm not perfect. You can see here, I have an investor, same page that kind of overlaps this one. So if I book someone at 2, I need to know it needs to be an appointment that I can end by 3. But it holds me accountable, and it also helps prevent something that I was guilty at was I was overbooking. So I'd have a meeting with this vendor and this agent and this affiliate, and then Nate and I would have a talk about Fall Blast. And then when I would be doing lead gen, and I'd look at my calendar to schedule an appointment with Jane Doe, I'd go, oh shoot, I'm booking 2 weeks out because I didn't have any open time slots for my appointments. And that's where we start working evenings and weekends. So if you want to work less evenings and weekends, I would suggest you do the same thing. Give yourself some appointment slots that you stick to. And then maybe like myself, I have 1 night a week that I work late for lead gen. And I'll typically take appointments in the evenings on Thursdays. Because in our line of work, we do need to have at least 1 evening to work for those people that work 9 to 5 or the nurses, doctors who truly cannot leave work to come in for an appointment. So I leave that for Thursdays. But then you'll know as you're picking time slots and suggesting times to people, you'll be surprised how many people that work can take these 3:30s. And then you're home by 5:30. So that's the next thing that I would do is actually time block out when you're willing to take appointments. The other beautiful thing about that is Ben knows Wednesdays and Thursdays are my late nights. So he knows that if we have the kids, he's got to man the house. He knows that I'm not going to be home, so he doesn't have to plan dinner. We do meal planning around my work schedule. So it just helps keep everybody on the same page versus working randomly late all the time. That makes family life very difficult. So time block your appointments. The other thing that I would time block in then is trainings. You know that every Tuesday here at Keller Williams, it's Training Tuesday 11 to 1. So look at the calendar at the beginning of the month and time block which ones work for your business. Time block in when you get that alert, that business planning clinic is coming in October. If you think you want to go, put it in your calendar now, because you'll be surprised how quickly you'll overbook in October. And then when it goes time to buy your ticket, you're going to go, crap, I can't go. Sharpening your axe is just as important as the time that you're spending lead generating. So make sure that you're time blocking time in your calendar for trainings. The next thing that I would put in your calendar is clarity breaks. So I know we already talked about scheduling me time. And me time is not work related. Me time is self-care. That's going for your run. That's going, you know, maybe it's just golf if you're really into like golf or some type of activity. That's you time. Clarity breaks are actually work related. So many top CEOs say this is the most important hour, sometimes 2 hours in their week. I would suggest starting off with maybe 1 hour a month. And then as you get more used to it, you might notice that you need one more often. But in your clarity break, this is when you're going to take time for self-accountability. So you're going to look at your calendar and you're going to say something on the lines of, does my calendar reflect my actual activities? So did the schedule you laid out for yourself align with what you actually did? And you're just going to be honest with yourself. Did I stick to those time blocks, or no, I was getting, you know, appointment requests or phone calls and I was just jumping and not sticking to my schedule. And then I want you to ask yourself, how does that make me feel? Like, how do I feel right now? Do I feel burnt out? Do I feel refreshed? And then you want to ask yourself, what could I have improved on? So what's the one area this week that I could have done a little bit better on? It's just all about self-accountability, and you can't lie to yourself, right? Like, you know what's the truth. The next thing I would kind of go through then is, what issues do you have? Like, what roadblocks are you facing in your business? And then that's your time then to problem solve. It's kind of like, as leadership teams, we have what we call a level 10 meeting. And it's where we discuss different ideas and issues that arise in the market center every week. You're kind of having this with yourself. What issues am I facing, and how can I correct those issues? Is it, maybe I'm just struggling with implementing that 60 touch plan that Dave Hook taught us last week. I don't know where to begin. Maybe I need to set up a one-on-one with my team leader so she can help me develop a plan on how to really put that into action. Or maybe the issue is, I need to stick closer to my time blocks, and I need to just, maybe at the beginning of a time block, set my timer. So if I know I'm lead genning for 2 hours, I'm going to set my timer for an hour so I can take a break. When the timer goes off, I take a break, set it again for another hour. And I know that when that timer goes off, I'm done. So just kind of figure out what's going to help you stick to that schedule. I'll write these quick. So does my calendar reflect my actions? Where could I improve? How do I feel? What issues am I facing? And then how do I solve? An awesome thing with the clarity break is you should try to have this as distraction-free as possible. You might have your phone because you're looking at your calendar, but maybe you could put it on airplane mode or do not disturb, because this is supposed to also be a time for your creativity to flow. So when you get to this, what issues am I facing and how do I solve? This could be a time for you to be very creative. Maybe an issue you're facing is, I know I need to be doing more events. What type of events would I like to do? Then you can start brainstorming all the things that you like to do and how could you turn them into an event. So these clarity breaks are your time to work on the business, distraction free, and it tends to be when that creative flow starts coming, which is why CEOs say that this is their best hour of the week, because they lock themselves in a room, usually out of the office, and this is where they can get their best ideas on how to solve some of their biggest problems. Any questions so far? None? Oh. So again, here I would start with 1 hour a month, but I would encourage you to increase that to as much as you need. Now, who here uses, I know earlier we discussed who uses a calendar, but who uses an electronic calendar? So like Google, Apple. Okay, perfect. So one thing that I would encourage you to do is, if you don't use an electronic calendar, there's some folks that use paper calendars and they swear by them and it works. But just know that most other companies are sending you invites via the electronic one. So at least look at it every now and then to make sure it matches what you have on paper. Some tricks with Google: if you want something to be repeating, like let's say every Monday from 9 to 11, you want a lead gen, you can just have it repeat so you're not having to enter it every day. So does not repeat. You can actually come down to custom, and you can choose which days of the week it repeats on. Is it every 1 week? Is it maybe your clarity break you might just do once a month? but I use this custom feature a lot because there's some things that I can do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, but maybe it has to be at a different time on Tuesdays and Thursdays due to my schedule. So it's just an easy way for you to get that in your calendar without having to enter it every single day weekly. Another thing with Google, so when I clicked on more options, you can click create meeting notes. So if you're having a clarity break, if you click that, it'll just title whatever the title of your appointment is, but now you can keep typing your notes and you can see your notes from the last clarity break that you have. If you have one-on-ones with me on a regular basis, if you go in our one-on-one time slot, your notes from all of our one-on-ones are in that calendar invite. So if you're like, crap, I can't remember what Brittany told me I needed to do next week, you can go to the calendar invite and look at your one-on-one notes and you'll have your action items right in there. Another thing that you can do is add notifications. So if you want to get reminded 10 minutes before, so you know, okay, 10 minutes before lead gen, my notification is going to go off. I'm going to go make my coffee, set up my bunker and be ready. So that way you're not doing coffee during lead gen time. Like I know I'm guilty of that, right? I'm like, oh shoot, it's time to lead gen. Well, let me get my coffee first. Next thing you know, 15 minutes pass by because I chat to 3 different people on the way there and on the way back. So you can actually set up notifications. You can also set up address or add Google Meet. So if you are maybe setting an appointment with another client, you can put the address right in here. So that way, when they open up their calendar, they can click on the address, it'll connect to their Maps app, and now they can get directions to you. Also just helps remind you where you're going at that time. And then Google Meet is always great to have in there in case you need to save the appointment. So if you've ever had like a buyer consult scheduled and they say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't come in, I worked late, blah, blah, blah. Well, what if we just met on Zoom? You're saving that appointment with giving them the option of the Google Meet, but the Google Meet link is already in the calendar. So say, yep, just hop on there. You think you're going to be home in 30 minutes, I'll be on and we can still at least meet that way. So it's a great backstop to preventing cancellations. You can also color code. So maybe, you know, for me, I like to have my lead gen time green because green means money. And lead gen is a money-making activity for you and your business. So that just kind of stands out for me. I know like, okay, I can't skip this because this is how I feed my family. This is how I grow my business and get paid. And then I have my appointments as gray. I always put my kiddos stuff in pink. It just helps me, that visualization helps me stay organized. Ben knows that if he sees something purple in the calendar, he knows he has to be there. So pink means I got it taken care of, but it's on the girl's schedule. Purple means you actually need to show up. This is a family event. So he knows to look for anything that's color coded in purple. When you add a guest, you can let them see the guest list or you can turn that off. So if you're doing a client appreciation event, and you want to put it in their calendars, because if you don't put it in their calendars, they're going to forget. You can add your guest list in your Google Calendar, but when you take away see guests, they won't have to see everybody else that you invited if you don't want them to. And you can also turn off and allow them to invite others, or they can invite others. So it's completely up to you. Nate just got a calendar invite to lead gen with me from 9 to 9:50. When you're receiving invites, we see this a lot in the market center. You want to make sure you hit yes or no. So if you're coming, hit yes, it's going to populate in your calendar. If you hit no, it'll be removed from your calendar so it doesn't mess it up. And when you get changes, you're going to have to, like, if you think every Friday you have an appointment at 9 a.m. and you get a couple change emails, those change emails can be a little confusing. If you scroll in that email, it should tell you what changed. But honestly, I delete them. And then I just go to my calendar and I go to that appointment that it's in reference to, and you'll see what changed, whether it was time, location. So I truly live by what's in my calendar because it will move automatically for you once you hit yes, if there's any changes. Any questions on how to implement time blocking, how to use the Google Calendar? Any questions on anything that I've said so far that maybe I just didn't talk about enough? Can you see how this might help you if you stick to this schedule, how it can help you work less nights and weekends? You guys are just dead today. Yes.
If you invite several guests and then like one accept, how do you know which one accepted it?
That's a great question. So whenever somebody accepts it, let me go to
Because
this
it
one.
shows like one accepted and then two are waiting.
So see here, we have a morning huddle every day from 8:45 to 9 a.m. as a leadership team. So I can see who the organizer is, which is me in this case. I can see who accepted it because there's a green check mark. And then I can see who denied it. So maybe Adrian's off that day. So she's going to say, hey, I can't make it to that huddle. In this case, poor Adrian has 2 email addresses. So she accepted using the email address that she uses on her calendar and denied on the one that she doesn't use. So that way she doesn't see it twice. But that's how you can see if they've accepted or denied. If they haven't done anything with it yet, which Matt is very famous for, by the way, there's nothing there. So you're like, are you coming? Are you not? Did you get the email? But it allows you to know if you need to follow up. The other cool thing that you can do is in this calendar, once it's set and invites are out, if you click this email guest icon, you can add to it or remove some people. So maybe like I know that Leah, Ashley, and these people and Nate are coming. I can just send a quick email to Adrian and say like, hey, I saw that you denied the request, or hey, I saw you haven't accepted or denied. Wanted to make sure this time still worked for you. So very easy to send an email out to the attendees. Could just be a quick reminder email. Hey, everybody, just a reminder, ice cream truck event tomorrow, 4 to 5, should be in your calendar. If you have any questions, let me know. So just a very easy, streamlined way to send out reminders or any questions that you have to the folks that are coming or not coming. So that was a great question. Yes.
So Google is all of our preferred calendar to use. Is that what everybody's using?
Anybody here using Apple?
I use like a little bit of a combination because my wife uses Apple calendars.
Okay.
My Google one, it's confusing. It's a little annoying, but I'd say Google's probably the best one.
That's what the majority of everybody here is using.
Yeah, and that's because for us, you get G Suite being a Keller Williams agent.
Right.
So you get your Keller Williams email is Gmail. So it comes with Google Drive, Google Calendar. So that's why we as a brokerage use it. But that is, I would say it's pretty widely used. Now, if you send an invite to someone with an Apple Calendar, and Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, it still shows up in their Apple
Yeah,
Calendar.
the only thing that's a little annoying about it is you know how you color code a lot of stuff?
Yes,
If you color code in your Google Calendar and you feed it to your Apple Calendar, it doesn't show up color coded anymore.
okay,
It all shows up as Google Calendar, like you have a color for your Google Calendar in your Apple Calendar.
got it.
Well, so that's the one annoying part is like I'll go to my Google Calendar to kind of see like a better view of it. But if I'm on my phone, sometimes I'll just check my Apple. But
Okay. But so they do talk to each other.
Good. The reason I'm asking is I use Outlook right now.
Yeah,
So I have to transition over to get all of that over. So I just wanted to make sure when I do all that, that I'm on the preferred system.
yes,
Okay.
yes, it should still pop up in your Outlook calendar and vice versa.
Also, another question about the Google Calendar. Can a person receiving an invite propose a new time?
Yes, so when you get that invite, Adrian, would you send me like a quick calendar invite and then I'll just open my email? it will give you an option to propose a new time. And when you click that, it'll let you pick a new time, and then it sends an email alert out to the organizer that says, hey, this time doesn't work for me, but what about this time?
Thank you.
And then once Adrian sends that, I will.
You know, I sent it.
I know, it's our Wi-Fi
You know.
and being in the basement.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody noticed that, but like in the training room, our cell service goes down a notch and so does our Wi-Fi. It's like you're surrounded by brick. And while I wait for that to come in, this is just an example of one of my calendar. It can be overwhelming to some who are not ready for this level of time blocking. So what I would tell you is start small. So start with the personal time first, right? Like this isn't something where you just want to jump in head first and do it all, because it is a process that you have to get used to. Somebody used to make fun of me for having get ready in my calendar. They were like, do you really need to time block your showers? It's one less thing I have to think about, and think about all the decisions that we make every single day. By the time 4 o'clock hits, you're fried. So if I can remove a decision from being made first thing in the morning, that's what my calendar does. I know when I got to be at the gym. I know when I need to be home from the gym. I need to know when I need to be in the shower. Ladies, you get me when I know what days I need to wash my hair versus what days I can get away with not washing it, because I know how much time I have allotted and that I need without having to think about it. I just know. I know what days that I can get away with sleeping in a little bit more if I feel like I need it. And it's because it's in my calendar. So I would start with something simple like that. Like, you know, you're going to shower every day. At least I hope. So start with something simple like that, and then just say, okay, I'm putting it in my calendar and I'm going to do it. And then you get a win. You're like, yes, I did it. I showered at 6:30 because that's when my calendar told me I would. And then maybe layer in like lead gen, and then stick to that, practice that for a couple weeks, and layer in the other pieces as you get comfortable. And you do, like, your clarity breaks. That's when you get to be accountable with yourself and be a little forgiving. This took me 3 years, and I'm still constantly fine-tuning it and learning better ways to do things. But your life changes, your schedule changes. So just be a little forgiving, and know that it is a mindset to be able to get used to this level of intentionality. And yet the days I don't stick to my time blocks are the days that I'm at home at night working, because I cannot go to bed if I don't feel like I checked off things on my list. Like if I didn't hit my goal for that day, I'm not sleeping. So when I don't stick to my time blocks, now I'm going to go home and I'm going to feel anxious and I'm going to work. So this is what has kept me intentional in my work day. So that way I am present when I'm home at night. And I had another thought with that and I lost it. Had to do with the word intention. Did we talk about it? It just hit me and then I lost it. We'll come back. It's still not showing up. It's like, no, you cannot.
Sorry.
No, I didn't. I was going to see if Shannon declined an event that I sent to her. So I was going to see if that would populate
Can you
in
go
my
back to the
calendar.
Calendar there. One thing that, since I've started the dual role at the front desk, one thing I've done is if you click over on the left-hand side, time insight, and drop that little, thing down. So because I'm, sort of wearing two hats, and I have a technology side of things, and then I have an onboarding and agent service side of things, I've started color coding them separately. And what it does for me is in that time insight graph, I can actually see, am I spending more time on technology stuff, or am I spending more time on agents stuff. And do I have a good balance? Or do I need to look at opening up some other spaces for one or the other? And so I've really started using that and using the color coding to really keep me where I'm supposed to be in my roles when I'm supposed to be there.
How did you label the colors? Like,
Yeah,
mine
I,
says banana for you.
so will you just create an appointment? Yeah, just create a color appointment.
I think you should leave it.
So when you're making the appointment and you click like on the colors, if you click plus, it lets you add a label.
So there you can name it.
All right.
Apple, if you want.
Brittany, I have a quick question for you.
Yep.
So I think Dave was the guy who said that, like when chaos stuff happens for him, he like schedules it later.
Yes.
Is that how you deal with that stuff too? Because I know you're very intentional about like time blocking everything. So like when something chaotic and needs your attention now happens, like what's your strategy for dealing with that?
So when I was an agent, I did have what was called a miscellaneous time block. And that miscellaneous time block was for fires. You can see here on Mondays, I just switched some meetings around, so I have to move it, but I have like emails, calls, miscellaneous. That's my time block to like call back people that I missed, respond to text messages I didn't have time to, or deal with fires. Unfortunately for me right now, full transparency, I'm not hitting my like 9 appointment goal every week. So I normally have white space that I know, okay, I don't have an appointment at 12:30 today. So I know that that can be my time to handle some fires. The other good thing to time block is if you follow the model traction or employee operating systems, it's called EOS. Even as an independent agent, this is something you can still do. It's meant for teams, but you can really follow that with yourself. We have what's called ROC. So every quarter, our leadership team has projects that we're going to work on that align with our goals for the year. So on Wednesdays, I have a time block for my ROCs and to-dos that are related to those ROCs. So those are things that you do want to time block. If you know you're planning an ice cream truck event, make sure you've got time in your calendar to work on that, because otherwise it's the day before the ice cream event and you're like, oh crap, I'm not ready. So you definitely want to have project time scheduled in your calendar, because what will happen if you don't is you'll start planning your ice cream truck event during your lead gen time. So if you know I can lead gen the next 2 hours because I know I've got time in my calendar on Wednesday at 11 to work on my ice cream truck event, it helps that anxiety stay calm. And because I don't know about you, but I have like my natural reaction is to do what I think is urgent right now. So that just lets me know, like, Bernie, you don't have to work on that right now. You've got time blocked. You will take care of it then. And that's the discipline, like that's the area that I have to work on the most as far as discipline. If I get a call from an agent and it's like a 911, like I have to help them in that moment. Even if maybe it could wait, sometimes it can't. And I'm going to make sure that I'm there to help you in those moments. But like sometimes it probably could wait, but my instinct is to want to help you right then and there. And sometimes I have to do a little bit better at being like, okay, it can wait till 11. You know, we're not delivering beating hearts. It's all good.
Or the other option in that instance is you do help, but then that time the lead gen time you had blocked off, you gotta move it.
Reschedule.
You gotta put it somewhere.
Yeah, if you erase, you must replace. So life does happen, right? Kids get sick, you got to take them to the doctor, and the only time that they're open is like right smack dab in the middle of a time block that you have. So, you know, if I didn't prospect this morning, well, I don't have an appointment at 2, so I can just move my lead gen time block to there. Oh, that's not mine. So like say it was this one, I can move it. And that level of discipline is also going to be what makes you want to stay in that time block, because more often than not, that's when you start leaking into your evenings. If you don't have time left. But if I know, and this is a great rule of thumb for agents, if you don't have an appointment during your appointment time block, lead gen more. Like if you're not hitting your goal, if you're behind, now if you're on pace, you're on track or you're ahead, cool. You just got that time back. But if you're behind on goal or just like right there, that's your sign that you should probably lead gen a little bit more during those open appointment time slots. And then one last thing before I let Adrian take over. Just be aware as an agent, or in real estate, like we are social butterflies. We love to chit chat. We love to talk to each other and get to know each other and build relationships. But just be aware, because we are teaching time blocking, a lot of our agents practice time blocking. So if they're in their offices and they have like the, hey, this is my lead gen time sign up, I just ask, be respectful, because a lot of the times agents, when they're here, they're trying to work. So that way they can get home and spend time with their families later. Same thing with leadership, right? Like if we end up spending too much time in the cafe chit-chatting, which is still important for us to do, and I enjoy it, but if I do that too much, now I'm working that evening because I didn't get stuff done during the day. So it's just something to be cognizant of, that as we all get better with time blocking, it also means we have to respect other people's time blocks in hopes that they respect ours as well. So just treat others how you want to be treated, which is the platinum rule that we all like to try to follow. Yes.
I just have a couple of like comments I'll share in case anybody else deals with the same kind of mindset or challenges that I do. But one of the things that I don't do is I feel like I've got to get my schedule right the first time. And if and then it makes me struggle to put one really together solidly because it might not be quite right. So just the permission and the idea that, okay, this is not etched in stone. You can revisit it, you can tweak it to make sure that, that it's right and it's working for you. Because one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that your calendar is your calendar. It is a calendar. It doesn't work. You work for it. And so it can change and it can move and you can still get stuff done and be productive. The other thing that I learned working with my one thing coach was that if I didn't have something to do in the afternoon, especially since I work from home, I could be in my office all day long getting nothing done. And I realized through talking to him, I'm like, what's the harm if I get stuff done by 1 or 2 o'clock? What's wrong with that? There's a list of things that I tell myself I don't have time for. And if I finish at 2 o'clock and I have time to finish this book or go to the laundromat to wash this comforter or whatever the case may be, then I can do that or do some agent previews. You know what I mean? Just something like that. It's okay to finish early and do something and get something done that you've wanted to do and haven't been able to do it. And it's kind of motivating to get your stuff done then so that you can do maybe something fun.
Oh, I totally agree. And Jason, I hope you don't mind, but I think Jason does a great job of that. Like he comes in, he has his command tasks that he sticks to. That's his lead gen time. He does what he has to do. And some days he's here until I am, right? Because that's his list and he's not going to leave until they're done. And then other days, because he nailed them and got them done, he could be out of here at 12 and then do projects at the home or at the beach house. Sticking to his schedule and being really intentional when he's in that work time allowed him to be able to focus on investing in the beach house and getting it ready for Airbnb so that way he could complete that dream for him and his family. So being really intentional with your time. Yeah, if you finish early one day, you guys work nights and weekends. I know this class is about how to be doing that less. And yet there are just times, right, in this buyer's market that you're going to have to work nights and weekends. Like it's okay to be done at 2 on a Wednesday and go do some of that stuff that's important to you because that's what prevents burnout. So that's what those clarity breaks are for. Are you spending too much time having fun and not enough time on the business? Okay, then maybe you shouldn't be leaving at 2. Or are you on pace with your goals? You've been really intentional, like you're doing all the things that you should be doing. okay, I can leave a little early today and go do a round of golf with my buddies. So that's where the freedom comes, the freedom and the discipline, and then the self accountability. So, oh yeah,
One thing time blocking helped me set my boundaries with my clients. Because then I'm saying I have an appointment, I don't know what, but my boundaries now, like everyone knows at night I'm with my kids, so it's tough to get a hold of it. And it was all because of time blocking,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. These time blocks are when I'm available. And normally you'll be surprised how many times even people that work 9-to-5 jobs can actually work into those 9-to-5 time blocks. A lot of employments are flexible. They can take a lunch, they can do a Zoom. You know, there's some jobs that don't, but you'll be surprised how many evenings and weekends you could probably eliminate working by just asking for their time during when it's available for you.
But from my experience, they appreciate it when you tell them that.
Mhm.
Talk about it, don't be afraid. They appreciate it.
Yeah, my clients always knew when I was in sales, if you call me between the hours of 9 and 11, I'm going to get back to you after 11 o'clock. Just know that when I'm working between 9 and 11, I'm looking for homes for my buyers and buyers for my sellers. So if I respond to your text, you have permission to call me out and say, Brittany, you're not finding me a house. Respond to me after 11. And I did have some clients that would joke with me. They were being serious. They'd be like, Brittany, you said that you wouldn't respond to me until after 11 o'clock. Go find me a house. So, you know, having those expectation conversations up front and explaining what's in it for them